What's up, nation? We're doing a challenge here at Chat Sports, and huge shout out to Carlos47, who broke the Raiders Report record for most comments on a single video. So I'm throwing out another challenge. If anybody has the cojones out there to beat Carlos47's record of over 1,000 comments on this video, you're getting a special shout out here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Rowan. If anybody out there likes the dress shirt I got on, hey, go over to rowan.com/chatsports and make sure you use promo code chatsports for 20% off your order. That link's going to be available for you guys in the comments and in the description down below. So what we're talking about today are the trending Raiders draft rumors around the silver and black potentially trading out of the pick number 7. Also, the Raiders have 2 visits with quarterbacks, and there's a lot of smoke right now going around with the Raiders potentially taking a QB. So in terms of Mitch, I continue to get asked, are the Raiders going to be trading out of the number 7 pick? Well, over the weekend, shout out to my guy on Instagram, Raiders Scout. He put out this report, and he was really the first one that came across it. It was, are the Raiders trading out of pick number 7? You've seen new updates here on Monday from people like Jeremy Fowler, and right now, as it stands, according to Scout, he's saying that they could trade up or that they could trade down, and that Vegas is interested in 1 to 2 quarterbacks in particular. The reason why 1 to 2 quarterbacks really sticks out to me is because there is C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. I don't know about you, man. I really do not know if C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young are going to be available after picks 1 and 2. So the top 2 names there that stick out to me are Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. This is what Scout had to say over the weekend. It's expected the Raiders would like to trade up for a QB, but aren't willing to overspend and outbid other teams as they only view 1 to 2 quarterbacks as top prospects. If the team can't trade up, they'll likely move down to gain more capital that can assist them in building the roster or trading back up into the 2nd and 3rd rounds. To me personally, when I hear what Scout has to say, and you hear a lot of these reports out there, it almost sounds like the Raiders are water. And what do I mean by that? It means that literally they can go in any direction. I think that they're going to do what's best for this football team, not only this year, but next year. And I don't know if that necessarily means trading up. So my question to you is this. Maybe you're a first-time watcher here at Chat Sports, first-time watcher here at the Raiders Report. I like to interact with my audience, so please go down in the comments and let me know what you think is the most likely to happen. Are the Raiders going to trade up? Do they decide to take a quarterback? Do they decide to go up where the Arizona Cardinals are? Do they just stay exactly where they're at number 7? Or do you think that they could end up trading back in the 2023 NFL Draft? I will admit, trading up makes me extremely nervous unless Stroud or Bryce Young are available. However, though, right, if the right player is there, you can change my mind. And when you also look at the amount of holes that are on this team, that also is another reason where I'm like, I don't know if trading up is the right thing to do. But I really wanted to do today's show because y'all know my motto, where there is smoke, there is fire. And coming up here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you why the fire continues to grow and grow and grow around the Raiders potentially trading up. I made videos last week about Anthony Richardson. I made videos about them potentially trading up over the weekend. If you missed them, well, then that's just another reason to go subscribe to the show. But the smoke around the Raiders making a move, it should really start making y'all want to pay attention. Now, if you haven't already, please go check out Rowan. I absolutely love these guys here. To me, when I think about a dress shirt, I want a dress shirt that is comfortable, which I'm telling y'all right now, this is one of the most comfortable dress shirts I've ever worn. I want simplicity. The last thing that I want to do before Alex and I are getting ready to go out on date night is iron a dress shirt. Honestly, if I have to iron a dress shirt, it just goes right back in the closet. I'm not going to wear it. And what I love about these are they don't get wrinkly. You can throw them in the washer. The dry cleaner, throw that out the window as well. So if you guys want, go to rowan.com/chatsports for 20% off your order. So I know a lot of people, I really do agree with if you look good, you feel good, and the commuter collection can get you through any workday straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/chatsports and use promo code chatsports to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code chatsports. It's time for you to find your corner office in comfort. So I like wearing these personally on date night. I can wear them to work. I can also, when I'm hanging out with the boys, if you got church, if you're into literally any activity whatsoever, I think Roan can really hook you up, whether it's the dress shirt, whether it's you're out golfing with your buddies. They have awesome tees, polos as well. One more time, 20% off your order at roan.com/chatsports. So let's continue to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders here trading up. And I am always a big believer when sometimes like a big-time story happens, it's not just like it happens ASAP, Rocky. It starts to build, and it builds up, and it builds up, and it builds up. So according to the Athletic's Jeff Howe, who personally to me is really the only credible guy they have anymore, the Raiders tried trading up to number 1. This was right before the Carolina Panthers and Chicago Bears ended up making that deal. So that should have a little light bulb go off in your head. You're like, all right, well, if the Raiders tried to trade up to number 1 and they weren't willing to give up as much, what makes you think that they weren't willing to trade up or that they're not willing to trade up to number 3? Then you got Jeremy Fowler saying that Las Vegas currently is looking at the number 3 pick. You go back 3 months ago, the Arizona Cardinals, the report was that they were willing to trade out of the number 3. So if you're willing to trade up to 1, I'm going to guess that number 3 is potentially there as well. And then when you think about how many picks the Raiders have, 12. Only the Houston Texans have, I guess, the exact same amount, 12 picks. They have plenty of room where if they wanted to get aggressive and they wanted to move up, they could do it. The Raiders traded last draft 5 times, and they had 6 picks. Are they going to trade 11? I don't know. It's a joke. But I do think that trading up is a possibility. Also, the Raiders, they got 30 pre-draft visits. 4 of them were with the top quarterbacks, which, honestly, if you're an NFL team and you don't have somebody who's like a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, you should probably meet with all the top quarterbacks. Why? Because at the end of the day, I want teams to think that I could potentially draft one of these dudes, because then I want a team to trade up with me, and then you get more picks in return. But Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson are all quarterbacks that have a pre-draft visit with the silver and black. And there was a lot of rumors last week around Jalen Carter. The Raiders, are they going to draft him? Are they not going to draft him? The Raiders would never, any NFL team, would never have a pre-draft visit, because you only get 30 of them, if they weren't legitimately serious about taking a quarterback or that player. So the Raiders, to me, are clearly doing their homework on all the quarterbacks in the draft. If you want the safest guy, to me, that's Bryce Young. Most pro-ready, I'd say C.J. Stroud. Strongest arm, Will Levis. The most athletic is Anthony Richardson. Now, friendly reminder here, Nation, if you haven't already, I want y'all to take a second, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you got those notifications turned on, because at any point in the day, if news happens, we do our best here to cover it on the Raiders Report. If it's big-time breaking news, we go live. And I'm always about trying to level up, and one cool part about YouTube and doing this for work is every time you hit a mark, right? 135,000 subs. I can still remember when we hit 10,000, 20,000, 50. I'm trying to get to 136,000 subs. So if you're a diehard fan, you bleed silver and black, help me out, join the family, hit that subscribe button. Coming up next here on today's show is a must-see Josh McDaniels quote. And I mean, it is must-see, because anytime McDaniels says something, there's always the split down the road here with Raider fans. There are people that are like, oh, he said it, he's got to be telling the truth. And then there's the other people like, yeah, you can't believe anything McDaniel says. Believe me, man, I can go both ways. Giggity? I don't know. But when it comes to McDaniels, it is obviously important because he's the offensive mind. He's the head coach. He's basically the OC on top of that. And when it comes to quarterbacks, I'm going to listen to what he has to say. This is what Josh McDaniels had to say at league meetings. Obviously, it makes you feel better if you come out of there without somebody specific, but I think in terms of our roster, what we've tried to do is put ourselves in a position so we can actually draft the best player that we feel like is available at the time. And we are open to anything, you know what I mean? And that's nothing new. But if that happened to be a quarterback, then it's a quarterback. If it happened to be a defensive lineman, it's a defensive lineman. If it happened to be a tight end, it's a tight end. You know what I mean. So whatever player we're doing our work on, everybody, trying to do our due diligence on every spot in the draft. And we know we pick high in every round, basically. And so it's an opportunity that you hope you don't have a whole lot of, but we're going to try to take full advantage of if we can this year. Few things that I always learn when I read Josh McDaniels quotes. I don't know about you, they are confusing as hell to me. I mean, this is a man who clearly has no idea what the hell he wants to say or is saying. But what I gathered out of that is this. The Raiders are always going to do their thing. If they have their board, right, and they're not just going to say, oh, C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are the top two guys. They might not view it that way. And if they believe that, hey, one of these top players is available and he's going to make our team better and we got to trade up to get him, then you're going to do it. In terms of what players you do that for, the only players you're trading up to number 3 to get, realistically, at least, God, I hope so, is a freaking quarterback. So you have all these rumors around quarterbacks, and then this week alone, the Raiders, they got 2 visits. They got a visit on Friday with Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. And Richardson's also first pre-draft visit is with the Silver and Black. Last week, right before Anthony Richardson's pro day, you had Dave Ziegler, you had Champ Kelly, the Raiders' assistant GM, out there to scout him. From everything I heard, the Raiders came away very impressed. They had dinner with Richardson the night before that. I mean, they're doing a lot of the things that you would imagine teams do. The only thing that I said I thought was a little bit peculiar was, if you're Josh McDaniels, if you're the Raiders, wouldn't McDaniels be the guy that would also want to go out to the pro day with them? At least that's what I thought. We'll see how everything goes on Friday, but Richardson is visiting with the Silver and Black this Friday. The visit that's going down today, Monday, as I'm recording this video, is Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. So you got him visiting on Monday. Yes, the Raiders have had pre-draft visits scheduled, but the fact that they're meeting with Levis, the fact that they're meeting with Anthony Richardson, and I was told by a very good source of the Raiders, they love the fact that he ran a pro-style system at Kentucky. They also believe that because of that past experience, that he would actually be a good fit with Josh McDaniels. And if you're going to end up taking Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, you better let him learn for a year. So if you're talking about these 2 quarterbacks, and I mean only these 2, because I think when you talk to most people in the NFL draft world, Raiders world, whatever you want to call it, this is basically like 3 and 4. Who's the better QB prospect? Is it Will Levis? Is it Anthony Richardson? Type WL for Will Levis. Type AR for Anthony Richardson. No matter which guy you pick, I don't want the Raiders to trade up for either of them. And the only reason is they're not ready to me. They're also not worth trading up for. If I got to give up picks this year, and if you're going from 7 to 3, you're probably giving up your first-round pick in next year's draft. I'd rather the Raiders just go out and target quarterbacks in next year's draft because, let's face it, they're a lot better than this year's draft. Also, I think both Will and Richardson need a year to groom, and they need a year to learn behind a veteran. So you look at what the Raiders did in free agency. They went out and they got a quarterback that they knew. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. They signed him to a 3-year deal, but when realistically you look at the ins and outs of his contract, it's actually made perfectly for the Raiders to be able to draft a quarterback, and for that quarterback that they draft be able to learn behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year, 2 years if they wanted to. So Jimmy G, he's going to be the starter in 2023. He's going to be making $16.3 million. But the reason why I said that it's interesting is because they can get out of it after year 1. If he's traded in 2024, the Raiders save his entire contract, $24.25. They save that in 2024, and they save that in 2025, which then also means that a team's got to be like, all right, sure, we're going to take Jimmy Garoppolo at $24.25 million. Don't know how likely that is. So what I do think could end up happening is if the Raiders really love, let's say hypothetically, that quarterback that they draft, if they draft one, they can cut Garoppolo in 2024. It's an $11.25 million dead cap hit, but the Raiders still save $13 million. Or you have Garoppolo on the team yet again, and then you can move on from him in 2025, and it doesn't cost you anything. So Garoppolo's contract is constructed to move on from 1 year, so you have that. That's a starting point. And now you have all the other rumors circulating around the Raiders potentially trading up from multiple sources out there. You have the Raiders meeting with all these quarterbacks. You have Vegas odds showing that the Raiders are the most favorites for Anthony Richardson. There was a lot of smoke around the Silver and Black potentially trading up or potentially taking a quarterback like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson during the 2023 NFL Draft. Before I go, I'm a man who I got to give a shout out, man, to Fayez over on Locals. He won our March Madness tournament, which I think even he would say, and all the goats over on Locals, it was kind of a shit show over there. I don't think anyone even picked a single team to reach the Elite Eight, let alone the Final Four. And congratulations to you, Fayez, for coming away with a big W. If anybody wants to join me later on Locals, I'm doing a mock draft. We're going to be starting that at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So tune in, have a good time, and if you enjoyed today's show, much love to you. Jeremy Chuggs and I, we're going to be live tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific, here on the Raiders Report.